Welcome to Meet the Candidate with your host, Sue Lonnie Madsen. Meet the Candidate is your opportunity to see local candidates and hear about the experiences that have shaped their lives. Meet the Candidate is a nonpartisan community project brought to you by our friends at Greater Spokane Incorporated, Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe, We Vote, and Better Spokane. Now, here's Sue Lonnie.
Hey, welcome to Meet the Candidate. My guest this session is Mike Volz, who's candidate for the 6th Legislative District, Position 1, and it's a position you currently hold. So welcome, Mike.
Well, thank you for having me, Sue Lonnie.
This is just a get acquainted conversation, and I don't know the answer to this question. Where did you grow up and go to school?
Well, I first moved to Spokane. I was born in Walla Walla, moved to Spokane in about 73 or 74. I went to Assumption and St. Thomas More on the north side through 8th grade, went to North Central for a year, and then we moved to Ritzville, and I graduated high school in Ritzville, and I met my wife, and we went on our first, my future to-be wife, and we went on our first date. It was in October of 1980, I think. So,
well, where did you go to your first date in Ritzville? There is a nice little theater there, the Ritz.
We went to I think it was a homecoming dance in the gym or at the high school.
Well, I'm familiar with that kind of small town activity myself. And after Ritzville, did you go on to some other education and training?
Yeah, I went 1 year to Eastern, and that didn't quite work out. So I found myself in the Army and signed up as an MP, which I actually contemplated when I graduated high school of going to college or going in the Army. So destiny kind of propelled me into the Army. I spent 3 years on active duty and a couple more in the Guard. I was a military police officer, and I was stationed in a country that was called West Germany at the time, which I'm dating myself a little bit. And from there went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina for my last year of active duty, and then came back home to Spokane.
Did you get to move there with was she your wife at the time, so you get to move the whole family, or that was a long distance? That was
a long distance thing. She was she was in college down at WSU getting her education degree. I was traveling around in the Army, and came back, and within a couple years we were married in 1989, so 30 years next year.
Oh, congratulations.
And I have to say, for the record, she's my better 3/4, and, I'm giving myself too much credit. So
that's a very nice thing to say.
It's true, too.
So while you were in high school, what kind of activities drew you in?
Oh, in high school I did basketball and football. And,
well, if you live in Ritzville, you're playing basketball.
Yeah, and baseball for a couple years, but sports, and had a broad array of interests. Probably at the bottom of the list was school.
Well, not everybody fits into that slot.
No.
One of the other ways of getting an education, besides just sitting in school, is work experience. So tell us about your first job.
Oh, my first job was, mowing lawns, but my first job was actually delivering the Chronicle up on the north side of Spokane. We lived off of Lyons and Division up in that area, and I had a route up in that area delivering the Chronicle for a few years, and worked in Ritzville, and I was cooking at the Circle T restaurant in Ritzville. For those who, it's gone now, but it was kind of an anchor in the middle of town for decades. Went in the Army, and when I got out of the Army, I kind of was in and out of school part-time, and worked on a freight dock, was a dock foreman for a company, slinging freight for a few years, worked at private security for a company. I was a site lead, and I worked at Northside Landfill when they were closing that up, and Kavanaugh's Inn at the park doing security, and kind of worked my way through school. And by the time I was 30, I had a degree, so I was a late bloomer. So.
Wow. Where did you finish that degree?
I finished up at Eastern.
Back at Eastern?
Back at Eastern with a year and a half or 2 years in community college, and wrapped it up at Eastern with a double major in accounting and finance. Then I went on and sat for the CPA exam and passed it, and then went to Gonzaga for my MBA.
Oh, excellent. I actually think that late bloomers sometimes do better. The late bloomers in the class that I lecture to, I notice that the students who come to college with experience sometimes seem to be getting more out of the class than.
Yeah, that's my story too. I'm sticking with it. It was all part of my plan.
It was all part of the plan. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've had some travel experiences with the Army, and one of the things I ask people about is some interesting travel experiences that have given you little insights into the world. And is there something that sticks in your mind?
You know, I traveled quite a bit when I was through the South, and when I was in Germany, we traveled around through all of, at the time the wall was still up, so we were limited in where we could go in Europe, but traveled in Spain and France and England and Scotland a little bit, and all around Germany, Belgium, Holland, and it was very interesting to see the differences between, their modern, first world countries, and just still the differences between America and our life and the European lifestyle was kind of eye-opening, interesting to me, and traveled around enough of the country to realize that I like Spokane, I like the Four Seasons, I like the lack of humidity and horrible, bugs and all sorts of stuff, and it's really a special place where we live, and it's very blessed to be here. So
that's cool. Well, I've also asked people. You already volunteered to run for elected office once. Now you're volunteering again. What prompted you to step out of that comfort zone that most people have to stay out of that limelight?
Well, I've been in public service, really most of my life, military, but I've been working for local government since 1999 with, 15 of the last 20 years at the Spokane County Treasurer's Office, and about 4 years working for Spokane Transit Authority. And so I had a very solid background in public finance, but what really kind of compelled me was K-12 education. My wife's a teacher and has been a teacher for 30 years. She teaches up at Salk, and I can't remember, 27 years, I think she was telling me that she's been up at Salk, which is in the 6th District. My two older kids went to K-12 through public school in the Meade School District mostly, and my youngest daughter is still a freshman. My mom's a teacher. My dad was a teacher, and I actually started out in education, but figured that society would be better served if I did something else. So just, as a parent and as a spouse of an educator, just seeing kind of this herky-jerky roller coaster of different tests, different standards that seem to be in perpetual change over the years was pretty frustrating. Then the McCleary decision and all of that. So I thought I would run for office and see if I could help out.
Okay. We've come down to that last minute, and I promise to give you the opportunity to answer this question. How do you see the duties of this elected office, and why should voters choose you?
Well, I think the duties of the office are to represent the people of the 6th District and really kind of a little bit broader Spokane County and the state to protect the rights and look out for the interest of the people of the 6th District is the primary focus. So, having spent a lot of time, actually most of my life in the 6th District, I know it pretty well. I went to school at a couple schools in the 6th, and so that's I think the main gist of it is trying to represent the people of the 6th, and they send us there to make decisions. They don't necessarily know or hear about everything, every issue. So we have to make decisions based on our judgment and kind of the promises and the message that we sent. So, I think as far as why people should vote to me, I think I've done a good job over the last couple years. I've been placed on some very key committees. I was on Appropriations Committee, which is the operating budget committee, and I was the only freshman at the time to earn a slot on that committee. I also served on the K-12 Education Committee, and recently have been added to the Capital Budget Committee. So there's at the state there's 3 budget committees. I'm on 2 of them, and so I've earned those slots on there, and I think that adds value to the region. So I think the main thing is that I'm a conscientious conservative, and I will take my job very seriously and looking out for the folks of the 6th District.
Okay. That was a nice wrap-up, Mike. Thank you, and good luck this campaign season.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching Meet the Candidate. Spokane Talks thanks our community-minded partners, Greater Spokane Incorporated, the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe We Vote, and Better Spokane for helping make Meet the Candidate possible.